Mm. So for those of you who are just now joining, we've been live for about 6 minutes. My apologies that I didn't click the right button. But we're meditating for another 9 minutes or so. And when we're done, we'll ring the bell. We'll have a little discussion about Nandika Wada Sutta. And if there's time, I'll have an opportunity to have a question and answer. So welcome, our friends from all over the world. Welcome to the Empty Cloud Monastery. Welcome to this opportunity to meditate in this dispensation in the human body. Welcome to the here and now. Welcome to your one rare and precious human birth in which a Buddha has arisen to teach the Dhamma. Welcome to close your eyes and to bring the mind together with the body to find out what's happening right here, right now. To discover for yourself what's it like to be alive. Surely there are concerns that may be pressing from yesterday, and perhaps a large list of things that need to be done later today or tomorrow. But for now, just for now, inviting you to forget about all those things and to recall once again a great injunction from our teacher, the Lord Buddha. Let not a person revive the past or on the future build his hopes. For the past has been left behind and the future has not been reached. Instead, with insight, let him see each presently arisen state. Let him know that and be sure of it invincibly, unshakably. Today the effort must be made. Tomorrow death may come. Who knows? No bargain with mortality can keep him and his hordes away. But one who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day, by night, it is he, the peaceful sage has said, who's had a single excellent night. So perhaps in whatever way, we can make a start on our single excellent night, here and now, as we sit with the aspiration and the intention to be as present as possible, as clear as possible, as open as possible, as accepting as possible, as relaxed as possible, and as receptive as possible. Let us see how far we can get by going nowhere and doing nothing more than abiding with our whole heart in this great, precious, unique, here and now moment. But one who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day and by night, it is he, the peaceful sage has said, who has had a single excellent night. Okay, friends. So this morning, we're going to go to the Majjhima Nikaya number 146 and discuss very briefly the Nandika Ovada Sutta. And I put it on the the share screen. I hope you can see it. And we'll read and get as far as we can. And maybe I'll jump around a little bit because we may not have time to do the full sutta today. But I'll try to hit what has felt like the highlights and what could be described as the most salient points. So let's begin. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. Then Mahapajapati Gautami, together with around 500 nuns, approached the Buddha, bowed, stood to one side, and said to him, "Sir, may the Buddha please advise and instruct the nuns. Please give the nuns a Dhamma talk." Now at that time, the senior monks were taking turns to advise the nuns, but Venerable Nandika didn't want to take his turn. Then the Buddha said to Venerable Ananda, whose turn is it to advise the nuns today? It's Nandika's turn, sir, but he doesn't want to do it. Then the Buddha said to Nandika, please advise and instruct the nuns. Please, Brahman, give the nuns a Dhamma talk. Yes, sir, replied Nandika. Then in the morning he rode up, taking his bowl and robe, and entered Savatthi for alms. He wandered for alms in Savatthi. After the meal on his return from alms round, he went to the royal monastery with a companion. Those nuns saw him coming off in the distance, so they spread out a seat and placed water for washing the feet. Nandika sat down on the seat spread out and washed his feet. Those nuns bowed and sat down to one side. Nandika said to them, "Sisters, this talk should be in the form of questions. When you understand, say so. When you don't understand, say so. If anyone has a doubt or uncertainty, ask me about it. Why, sir, does it say this? What does that mean?" We're already delighted and satisfied with Master Nandika since he invites us like this. Now, I like to pause because I've read this sutta quite a few times. And I think each time, maybe there is a respect, a kind of warmth and humility and a wisdom in phrasing, setting up the catechism in this way. Because, when we are approaching a subject that is as important as the Buddha Dhamma, I've always found it to be really helpful to feel comfortable in asking questions. But to do so, it seemed really important to feel comfortable with the person, the Buddha, the teacher, the bhikkhu, the bhikkhuni. Maybe if you're a lay person, maybe there's a lay Dharma teacher. But if there's a feeling of warmth or a sense of invitation to put aside one's erudition or one's scholastic acquisitions and just humbly ask any question that may come up, then it kind of maybe it sets the stage for the questions that may not have come to the surface to actually come up, because there's such a warm and inviting and comfortable invitation. So then Venerable Nandika goes on to inquire, what do you think, sisters? Is the I permanent or impermanent? impermanent, Venerable Sir. But if it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness? Suffering, sir. But if it's impermanent, suffering, imperishable, is it fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, I am this is myself? No, sir. So you see, this is very common schematic that we see throughout the suttas, particularly in the Anatalakkhana Sutta and many others. This is how one is questioned in regard to one's knowledge and understanding about the Panchapadana-khanda, the 5 aggregates, which are in brief said to be suffering. What do you think, sisters? So then he goes on to the other six sense spheres: the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body. Is the mind permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, sir. And if it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness? That's suffering. So then he summarizes, because but he's basically walking them through all six of the 6 sense spheres in the same way. Same declaration. If it's impermanent, suffering, imperishable, is it fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, I'm this is myself? No, sir. And why is that? Now here's the interesting part. Because we've already truly seen this with right wisdom. So these 6 interior, 6 sense fields are impermanent. Now, this level of direct insight normally indicates some level of stream entry. And what I've been made to understand is that it is possible for one of the 8 pairs to actually experience the path of stream entry without necessarily experiencing the fruit. That's how I've been instructed on this matter. So they have some wisdom, they have some insight into the not self or the impermanent and suffering nature of the 5 aggregates, namely the 6 interior sense fields. So then Venerable Nandaka applauds them. Good, sisters. That's how it is for a noble disciple who truly sees with right wisdom. What do you think, sisters? Are sights permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, sir. And the same sounds, smells, tastes, touches, ideas of the mind, are they permanent or impermanent? So they follow the same catechism. And then he asks, if they're impermanent, suffering, imperishable, are they fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, I am this is myself? And of course the answer, no, sir. And why is that? And they give the same answer, because we've already truly seen this with right wisdom. We know this already. Good sisters. That's how it is for a noble disciple who truly sees with right wisdom. So then he finishes with the 3rd leg of the tripod. So we have the internal sense spheres, the external sense spheres, and now he's bringing in the factor of consciousness, the 6 sense consciousness, the 6 consciousnesses that forms the tripod and the formulation of passa, or contact, also known as Tinang Sangati, passo. So they declare, if it's impermanent, is it suffering or happiness, he asks. It's also suffering. And if it's impermanent, suffering, imperishable, is it fit to be regarded? This is mine, I'm this is myself? Of course, the answer is still no, sir. And then, strangely enough, they give the same answer. We've already seen this. So the 6 interior fields are impermanent. The 6 external sense fields are impermanent. And now they conclude that the 6 classes of consciousness are also impermanent. So they have attained this level of insight, this level of wisdom. That's how it is for a noble disciple who truly sees with right wisdom. So now Venerable Nandaka is going to use a few similes to drive home the message, because even though there is a degree of insight, something is missing, which is why they're getting the discourse in the first place. There's something they don't yet know or haven't yet realized. And with the help of similes, we're told that some wise people can discern the Dhamma. So then he says, now suppose someone was to say, while this oil lamp is burning, the oil, the wick, and the flame are all impermanent and perishable. But the light that it emits is permanent, lasting, eternal, and imperishable. Would this make any sense? Would they be speaking rightly? No, sir. Why is that? Because that oil lamp's oil, its wick, and the flame are all impermanent and perishable, let alone the light. So in the same way, suppose someone was to say, these 6 interior sense fields are impermanent, right? But the feeling, whether pleasant, painful, or neutral, that I experience due to these 6 interior sense fields is permanent, lasting, and imperishable. Would that make any sense? Would they be speaking rightly? No, sir. Why is that? Because he's now teaching the finer points, because each kind of feeling arises dependent on a corresponding condition or a specific condition. When the corresponding specific condition ceases, the specific feeling ceases. So it's not a lasting, enduring thing. It's a coming together and a breaking apart. Good sisters. That's how it is for a noble disciple who truly sees with right wisdom. Now the second simile. Now you notice that he's using oil and a lamp for the interior 6 sense fields, which I feel very inspired by, because there's you can kind of get the idea that the oil or the fire or the light is within us. It's close to us, and it's perhaps easy to get identified with it because it's so close. But now here we're moving outside of this experience in a way with the second simile, moving just a little bit beyond the direct experience. Suppose there was a large tree standing with hardwood. The roots, trunk, branches, and leaves and shadow were all impermanent and perishable. Now suppose someone was to say, there's a large tree standing with hardwood. The roots, the trunk, and branches and leaves are all impermanent and perishable. But the shadow is permanent, lasting, and eternal, and imperishable. Would that make any sense? Would they be speaking rightly? No, sir. Why is that? Because the large tree's roots, trunk, branches, and leaves are all impermanent and perishable, let alone the shadow. So how can something, the basis of which being impermanent, create a result or create an emanation that is permanent and lasting? In the same way, suppose someone was to say, these 6 exterior sense fields are impermanent. Don't you just love the wisdom of these similes? Aren't they beautiful? In that he's describing the hardwood of a tree. I'm sorry, the parts of a tree standing with hardwood that are not the hardwood, but that are sort of factors surrounding the tree itself. And to what extent can we say that those things coming from something which is impermanent cast a shadow which is permanent? In the same way, someone was to say, suppose someone was to say, these 6 exterior sense fields are impermanent, but the feeling, pleasant, painful, or neutral, that I experience due to these 6 exterior sense fields is permanent, lasting, eternal, and imperishable. Would that make any sense? So if I'm seeing something, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, or contacting an external object with the internal eye, knowing that a feeling can come up, a pleasant feeling can come up when I see something that is agreeable or tantalizing or desirable. An unpleasant feeling can come up when something that's undesirable or disagreeable is seen. Or a neutral feeling can come up when there is either a mixture of those or that it's ignored in some way. A neutral feeling can come up. But knowing with wisdom that that feeling has a basis, it has a contingency, it has a condition with which is itself not permanent. It too is fragile, it is dependently arisen, it's conditioned. So I don't have to hold on to this feeling. I don't have to cling to it. I don't have to make it mine. I don't have to make it me. I don't have to make it myself. This is our practice. We can begin to see how the mind gets caught when it sees something or hears something or smells something or tastes something and feel that pressure or that pull or that sort of leaning in to grab and to hold or to push away because either something is undesirable or disagreeable or whatever it is. We can practice by just sort of keeping an eye out for those things that sort of pull and pressure the mind to react, bearing in mind that it's not something that's enduring, it's not something that's lasting. And so then he says, they answer, no, sir. Why is that? Because each kind of feeling arises depending on a corresponding condition. When the corresponding condition ceases, so when the sound ceases, when the taste ceases, when the smell ceases, that feeling is going to cease. I heard a story once where someone was living in an apartment complex and he needed to hang a picture on the wall. And they had some regulation in that apartment complex where you couldn't make any noise after, I think it's 6 o'clock or something like that. And so he started hammering, tapping the nail into the wall to get the picture on. And the neighbor his next door neighbor became furious, right? And came over and started banging on his door to, like, give him what for, give him a lecture about how he's breaking the rules and banging after 6 o'clock. And they have this policy. And of course, he, being a meditator, was, I think it was a story where he was filled with compassion for this person because they couldn't endure the sound of a nail tapping. And how long does it take to hang a picture? But she couldn't endure it. It didn't, in that moment, appear as if it was impermanent. It must have felt like, or it could have felt like, that tapping of the nail in the wall would go on forever. And so that could explain why the person became enraged and furious and needed it to stop by an action of karma with the body, with speech, with the mind. So how often do we get caught in one of these situations where, we hear something, we see something that we don't agree with or like, or that's not what we expect. And instead of having this teaching in mind that it's impermanent, we forget in those moments all too easily that these things are ephemeral. They're floating and dissolving even as they arise. So this is our practice. So now let's see how he sort of wraps up the teaching. Suppose, in this third simile, suppose a deaf butcher or their apprentice was to kill a cow and carve it with a sharp meat cleaver without damaging the flesh inside or the hide outside. Now, pay attention, because it seems like he's now going to make the point penetrative enough to connect the similes he's made before to actually what needs to be done. The simile of the light, the oil lamp, and the simile of the hardwood tree with the leaves and the branches casting a shadow. So they cut, carve, sever, and slice through the connecting tendons, sinews, and ligaments with a sharp meat cleaver, and then peel off the outer hide. Then they wrap that cow up in that very same hide and say, "This cow is joined to its hide, just like before." Would that make any sense? Would they be speaking rightly? No, sir. Why is that? Because even if they wrap that cow up in that very same hide and say, "This cow is joined to its hide, just like before," still, that cow is not joined to that hide. Now, I've made up the simile to make a point, and this is the point. The inner flesh is a term for the 6 interior sense fields. The outer hide is a term for the 6 exterior sense fields. Now watch. The connecting tendons, sinews, and ligaments is a term for greed and relishing. A sharp meat cleaver is a term for noble wisdom. And it is that noble wisdom which cuts, carves, severs, and slices the connecting corruption, fetter, and bond. Sisters, by developing and cultivating these 7 factors, awakening factors, a mendicant realizes the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life. And they live having realized it with their own insight due to the ending of defilements. He describes what they are: mindfulness, investigation of principles, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity, which rely on seclusion, fading away, and cessation, and ripeness, letting go. He's giving them the medicine. He's giving them the tool, the way. It is by developing and cultivating these 7 awakening factors that a mendicant realizes the undefiled freedom of heart and wisdom, heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life. And they live having realized it with their own insight due to the ending of defilements. Then, after giving this advice to the nuns, Nanda can dismiss them, saying, "Go, sisters, it's time." So the discourse is ending. He finishes there. What I really, really love about this sutta is the clarity with which he describes how it is to be done, how it is wisdom, how it is the noble wisdom that actually severs the bond, severs the fetter, severs the defilements. By remembering, by using mindfulness to sort of bring up this insight into the impermanent nature of phenomena, by using this meat cleaver, this sharp meat cleaver, to cut ourselves free from the reactions and the defilements that come up when we react to sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and thoughts that invade the mind. We can, if we were to give it a go, if we were to take it on, we would, in no long time, begin to see how, I can see for myself that if I can just bear with it, if I can endure it, even just like by counting to 10, maybe you're in traffic. Maybe you're in traffic now listening to this talk, and maybe you feel like you're going to be late for work, or late for an appointment, or late for the airport, or whatever it is. And maybe the habit is to get anxious and nervous and irritated by the fact, the uncontrollable, incontrovertible fact that you're going to be late. But if you can, in any moment, if we can bring up this wisdom that, whatever it is that I'm rushing to, whatever it is that I have planned for my life that I think is more important than how I'm conducting myself in this moment, is actually impermanent. Whatever that thing is, that appointment is, that flight is, whatever it is, it's not lasting. It too falls under the law of conditionality. So better to spend my single excellent night, to begin my single excellent night by contemplating this wisdom teaching and by taking good care of my own mind right here, right now, because by taking care of my mind, cutting myself free from defilements, this is the way that I can be sure that when Mara comes to grab, when Mara's hordes come and there is no bargain, this is the only way I can be absolutely guaranteed and sure for myself that I'm safe and free and not subject to Mara doing with me whatever he wishes. So those nuns approved, of course, and agreed with Venerable Nandika. They got up from their seat, bowed, and respectfully circled him, keeping him on their right. They went up to the Buddha, bowed, and stood to one side. The Buddha said to them, "Go, nun, it's time." So the Buddha saw, in my sense of this is that the Buddha saw the result of Nandika's discourse, the effect that it had on their minds. And then when they left, the Buddha addressed the monks. Suppose, monks, there was the Sabbath, the 14th day. You get lots of people wondering whether the moon is full or not, since it's obviously not full. And I take that to mean the mission wasn't fully fulfilled, fully completed. Nandika's mission wasn't fully completed. In the same way, those nuns were uplifted by Nandika's Dhamma teaching. And it's true, nothing wrong with being uplifted. But they still haven't got all they wish for. Isn't that beautiful? Don't you remember all those years, all those times when you've been uplifted by Dhamma talks, uplifted by retreats, uplifted by a vacation, uplifted by a new sale on Amazon or whatever it was. But your wish, your heart's wish, wasn't fulfilled. So then the Buddha said to Nandaka, well then, Nandaka, tomorrow you should give those nuns the same advice again. Yes, sir, Nandaka replied. And the next day he went to those nuns, same nuns, everything unfolded just like it did the previous day. Now, after the second time, soon after the nuns had left, the Buddha addressed the monks. Suppose, mendicants, was the Sabbath day, Sabbath of the 15th day. You wouldn't get lots of people wondering whether the moon is full or not, since it's obviously full. It's clearly full. In the same way, those nuns were uplifted by Nandaka's Dhamma teaching. Yes, they were uplifted, and being uplifted is good. And they got all they wish for. Here's the point, the takeaway. Even the last of these 500 nuns is a stream enterer, not liable to be reborn in the underworld, bound for awakening. So wonderful, no? So that's the end of the sutta. Oh, we made it through. So I'll pause now, and we have, I guess, about 13 minutes or so to see if there are any questions about this wonderful sutta today. And I see our friend Brahmavara is online. Greetings, dear Ayah. Let's see, do we have any thoughts or comments or questions about anything that we've studied today? Question is, how can I find your questions? Comments? You'll please forgive me. This is my first live stream, and I'm staring at this screen, and I have almost no idea how to find you. If you have a question, I'm so sorry. Let's see if I can figure it out. There's my friend. Very good. Hello, Ayah Satima. Thank you, Manal, for putting it there. So kind of you, because you know I would not be able to find it otherwise. Bless you. How does one approach asking questions to one's teacher better? That's a wonderful question. You know, there's a sutta I'm gonna find, and I'm not gonna use the screen because I don't want to lose you, because I'm sure I will if I try to. If I try to find it on that computer. But it's called, in the Majjhima Nikaya, it's called inference. And maybe someone who's quick quicker than I am, can put up the sutta number. And in that sutta, there is the discourse is about wanting to get questions from one's companion in the holy life, wanting people to instruct you, wanting people to give you admonition, give you advice. And just to summarize in light of the time, let's say there's a monk who's living with companions and living with his friends, and when they try to correct him or her, they prevaricate, they side talk, they dodge the issue, they're basically not approachable. They don't really want to hear the feedback. And so people don't teach them, essentially. Their friends and companions don't bother. They don't waste their time. But then there's another monk who doesn't actually ask. He doesn't have to ask to be taught and instructed. But he's so humble, he's so open to feedback, so willing to take advice, so interested in instruction and correction. And so his companions give him instruction, give him advice, give him admonition, even without asking. So my advice to myself and to you would be to take Venerable Rahula's approach. It is said that Venerable Rahula would, in the morning, grab 2 handfuls of sand and throw them up into the air and exclaim something like, "May I get as many bits of instruction and teachings as there are grains of sand falling to the earth." So with that attitude of openness, like real sincere interest, you're asking questions not because you're trying to one up the teacher. You're asking out of a really sincere wish to know. In fact, I just found something. I hope it'll come through. Here we go. In the Anguttara Nikaya, 5.165, the Panha Pachu Sutta on asking questions. I'll read this in our last few minutes, very quick. Then Venerable Sariputta addressed the monks. "Friends, monks." "Yes, friend," the monks responded to him. Venerable Sariputta said, "All those who ask questions of another do so from any one of 5 motivations." Which 5? 1 asks a question of another through stupidity and bewilderment. 1 asks a question of another through evil desires and overwhelmed with greed. We've all met people like that who are not really interested in the answer, but they've got some ulterior motive that's kind of evil. 1 asks a question of another through contempt. You're kind of like, it's kind of like a backhanded insult. in the form of a question, it's not really a question. One asks a question of another when desiring knowledge, really interested, really sincerely, honestly wishes to know. And 5, or one asks a question with this thought: if when asked, he answers correctly, well and good. If not, then I will answer correctly for him. All those who ask questions of another do so from any one of these 5 motivations. And as for me, when I ask a question of another, it's with this thought: if when asked, he answers correctly, well and good. If not, then I will answer correctly for him. That sounds to me like the position of a teacher. You know, like as a parent, or if you're not a parent, maybe you've been an auntie or an uncle, and you've had a little kid, and you ask him a question, but you really are asking the question because you want to instruct. So you may say to your child or your niece, or you're babysitting, you may say, "Did you brush your teeth this morning? Did you brush your teeth? Show me your teeth." Do you know how to brush your teeth? Okay. So then you get to instruct and show them how to brush their teeth correctly, one at a time. So that kind of question is coming because you really want to create an opportunity to instruct, to teach, to correct. So when you are approaching a teacher to ask questions, you should keep these 5 things in mind. Bear these 5 in mind. And if you don't remember what they are, you can replay the YouTube video. And approach the teacher with that attitude of really wanting to learn, really wanting to know, really humble and sincere, and wishing to improve your situation. And then you'll find, like I found, most teachers who are accomplished in the Dhamma, they teach like the Buddha teaches out of compassion. They want to help. And they, like Venerable Nandika, he was giving all these similes and giving them in such a way as to sort of gradually, increasingly, slowly bring the mind to a point where it can deeply grasp the deep meaning of the Buddha Dhamma. And so if your heart's wish is to truly understand, if you really sincerely want to know how to live in accordance with the Dhamma, how to practice in accordance with the Dhamma, how to live a life that's in harmony and peaceful, and that is on track with the Dhamma, you can do that by bringing to mind your intentions for asking questions. And if you're in a position as a teacher already, some of you may be, you might use this template of the Nandika Ovada Sutta as a way to approach your students, a way to put them at ease when they come into a class, to sort of level the playing field in terms of making it very easy for them to feel comfortable to ask the questions that they may not normally ask, to make it very likely that if they don't understand something, they won't pretend they do and then walk away deficient, lacking in that opportunity, losing that opportunity. So a good teacher, a good trainer is one who's like a heart filled with metta. You're like a parent. Your only wish is for the well-being of the student, like our teacher, the Lord Buddha, and his disciple, Venerable Nandika. So It's 9 o'clock here. I'm so sorry I started a little late. My apologies. Maybe if I have a chance to do this again, I'm hoping that I'll have a bit more proficiency with all these buttons. In the meantime, I wish you every good blessing. I hope that this is the beginning. Today is the beginning of your single excellent night, and that you will live each moment to the full, with full mindfulness and awareness, with full presence in body, speech, and mind, bringing them all together in one place, with no leaning toward the future and no worry about the past, but just with insight, keeping the mind really closely tucked in and centered upon this miraculous, this marvelous, this wondrous present moment here and now with insight, so that we can see what Venerable Nandika was trying to get the nuns to see: the impermanent suffering and not self nature of the whole shebang. So I send you off with the blessings from the entire Empty Cloud Monastery on behalf of Bande Sudaso, Aya Soma, our founding teachers, and all the wonderful ayahs and teachers who are helping to support this incredibly wonderful monastery. We all wish you growth in the Dhamma and growth and blessings. Thank you.